On a football field, there are markings that are important to both a football team and a band. Fields are divided into 5-yard increments, which are called yard lines. In band, we call the front and back out-of-bounds lines the front sideline and the back sideline. There are also important reference points running through the length of the field called hash marks. In high school, the hash marks divide the field into perfect thirds vertically. Now let's talk about how to actually read some of the drill you'll get. When your squad gets your packet of instructions, one item included will be the pictures of some of the formations we will form on the field. The other item included is the set of directions your squad will follow to get to these formations. All of this together is called drill. Look closely at this formation. This is what the block O in our pregame show looks like from a drill perspective. Each dot represents a single person, creating a larger picture. Take a look at the space around those dots now. You should see some of the same reference points we talked about earlier represented here. You see thick dark vertical lines, which are the yard lines, and horizontal front and back side lines. The front and back hash marks are also present in the middle of the field. Now look really close. You should see some even lighter gray lines that create a grid. Each square of the grid is exactly equal to one step you would take on the field. In TMB, our most common step is known as an 8 to 5 step. This means that for every 5 yards you march, you should take 8 equal-sized steps. This is something that can be tricky at first, but ultimately, if practiced, becomes muscle memory and very easy. Once you've found your squad in the formation, you will need to know how to find exactly where to stand. First, find the closest yard line to your squad. Find the next closest reference point, which would be a hash mark or sideline, depending on your location on the field. Then, use the gray grid to count the number of steps you are from that reference point to your squad spot. Let's look at an example on the block O. This squad is placed in between the 45 and the 50 yard line, and their closest reference point is the front sideline. If you were to use the grid and count the steps that they are away from the front sideline, you would count 4 steps. Therefore, that squad would go up to the front sideline and march 4 steps towards the center of the formation to find their spot. Let's look at one more example in the block O. This squad is at the top of it, and their closest reference point is the back hash. Therefore, they would simply go up to the back hash and count back 12 steps behind it, and then they would be in their correct spot. The other piece of your drill packet, as mentioned earlier, is the directions for your specific squad. This page lists the most common squad maneuvers we do in TMB. Later in this video, we'll see some examples of these demonstrated by a squad. In time, these moves and abbreviations will become part of your band language. Your directions are usually split up into 16 to 32 count maneuvers. The maneuvers we use all take 8 counts to complete. For example, 32 counts is equivalent to 4 maneuvers. At the top of your directions, you will see a letter or number that corresponds with the big box or letter in your music. In this case, A. Following the letter or number is a plus sign with numbers. The first number listed corresponds to the first maneuver in your directions. The second number corresponds with the second maneuver listed. In this case, it says A plus 8 plus 16, meaning that you will complete one 8-count maneuver followed by another 8-count maneuver. As a squad, you will only need to pay attention to your squad's instructions. Listed in this example are squad 1 through 4's instructions. As an example, in A plus 8 plus 16, Squad 1 will forward march for 8 counts, followed by another forward march for 8 counts. As another example, Squad 3 will right pin for 8 counts, then left pin for 8 counts, and at the end of their left pin, do a left flank. A left flank is one of many turns that can be completed as the 8th count of any maneuver. We will talk more about those turns in a second. Here is an example of a squad. A squad usually consists of 4 people who are standing with exactly 2 steps of space between each other. You will be assigned a squad number and letter which corresponds to our drill. The most common maneuvers you will do in TMB are pinwheels and diagonals. Pins and diags are always accompanied by a right or left designation. The squad on screen is about to do a right pinwheel. Therefore, the person furthest to the right in the squad, in this case closest to the camera, will be moving the smallest distance. This time, the squad will do a left pin. That means that the person on the far left of the squad, in this case furthest away from the camera, will be doing the smallest amount of movement. The same right and left principles in pinwheels also applies to diagonals, which you will see in the next couple videos. In a right diagonal, the person on the right takes 1 step, the next 3 steps, the next 5, and the last 7. Now they will collapse their diagonal back into a straight line, with each member taking the appropriate amount of steps to reach their destination. One of our last most common maneuvers is known as a pivot. A pivot is simply a slow way to turn 180 degrees. Some of the last things you need to know to do TMB drill is about turns and facings. Turns and facings are 1 count direction changes that can be completed at the end of a move. For example, a to the rear is a 1 count turnaround. A right cross is a 1 count right hand turn, and a left flank is a 1 count left turn. Let's see our demo squad complete some of these maneuvers.